did spend another 1K for it. Just whatever.
Right.
So I did spend 7, but 6 to get the.
So I guess it was worth it for you for it. But there's some people out there like myself who spent probably 1,500 or 15,000 coal on this thing and haven't even got it. It becomes a not worth it type of situation for me. Which I'm sitting there telling everybody. I mean, like, look, if you want to spend the money, go ahead. If you have it to spend, go for it. For the most part, I don't think it's worth it because whenever these things actually do full release, if for some reason you are able to get the Tier 7, the Vaquelan, or the Fantastic at 8, all you have to do is play those and put enough experience on that, and then you can unlock the Mogador as soon as it releases. So I didn't see the point in spending any more on it. And it took me, 15 boxes to realize that. But being a community contributor, they gave us the Mogador anyway, so I guess it was kind of a moot point. Oh, maybe I could get some extra doubloons, out of it and make it be cost effective for the most part. In the end, is it worth it? Nope. Nope. Not for a tech tree ship. I mean, if it was a
Yeah, I
premium
mean,
ship,
if you get it early, it's totally worth it.
absolutely.
But spending the money for it, it comes out soon anyway. And if you have the Lefantiste or whatever you want to call it, I don't speak French, obviously.
Fantastic.
Scepter to your mom, but I mean,
Oh,
but
that's how I kiss your mom.
I know, right? She says hi, by the way.
All right.
And so, but the Lefantiste,
Fantastic.
the fantastic, whatever. That's a good boat. I went up against it 1-on-1, and it chunked me down pretty good. I mean, I killed it, of course, but
Obviously.
I was really surprised, and I was like, "Whoa, not bad." So if you get any of those boats, you're gonna know what the Mogador is all about if you don't have it, and then it gets better. I put the survivability expert on mine, so I could take out 2 destroyers, pretty much anyone I want, and then have that chance to get away from all the cruisers and everything else that are shooting at me because it's like, oh, Mogador, let's kill it, new ship.
Right.
Just like whatever any of the ships that you get, from being a community contributor, it's like, oh, let's kill the Ohio or let's kill the whatever, and
Yeah,
so,
everybody tends to focus on
um,
those.
yep.
I know I do it too.
Um, but it's fun. It's a fun boat. If it had the heel like the kebab, it would be borderline OP, probably OP actually. But um, just wait a little bit if you don't have it. I mean, you guys are gonna have it anyway soon. So don't spend however amount of money, for the 30 chances you have to at the most.
It's crazy because it's 1,000. Basically, you're spending 29 to 30,000 doubloons, which is over $100. It's insane.
Right.
It's insane at the fact that there's people out there that will actually do this. Now, hey, if they've got the money to spend it, who am I to tell them how to spend their damn money? But
Right.
I would think that waiting for it to come out would be a better thing. But there's some impatient motherfuckers out there, and I totally get that. I mean, I'm kind of impatient when it comes to certain things as well. But it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough to justify it in my eyes for a tech tree ship. So take that into consideration when you guys are making your choice in the futures. So there it is. Overall, Mogador. I think the Mogador is a phenomenal boat. I've really enjoyed playing it. It's a very aggressive boat. You can honestly, dude, it's kind of a hybrid boat in my estimation.
Yep.
You can play it
Yep.
aggressive if you want to. And I'm talking about attacking caps because pretty much every game I'm going straight to the closest cap and I'm trying to get there as fast as possible. And 54 knots is insane for speed in this game. And we are going there and we are being effective even with a 7.8 kilometer detectability range. On the Mogador, I am going in there and I'm being effective with it. And then after that, it becomes a kind of a Clemson play style where you're trying to ambush things as they're coming around corners, or if they're sitting and they're camping in a corner, you hit that speed boost and you can get up in there very, very quickly to drop your torpedoes, which I must say, the torpedo arcs on these boats are phenomenal.
Yeah, I noticed, and you guys probably watched and noticed too, how well Venom played the Rumble during that last weirdness event.
The
Um,
Rogue Wave event.
yeah, the Rogue Wave event. This thing does like the same thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Um, you don't get the 6 per spread, but you do get 5, and the arcs are just redonkulous. And then speed boost right on out of there. I've done it so many times, and it's so fun, and I'm just laughing the whole way. And you can just see them. They kind of stop and they just look, and they're like,
You could
"Oh, I'm dead.
you could
Damn you."
tell when they started to look at the torpedoes too, because their guns
Yep.
turn straight to the ground or straight to the water,
Yep.
and they look at the torpedoes as
Yep.
he's like, shit. That's
And
it's a
they hit
very
hard.
dude. They hit really hard. I think they're rated at 18,000 or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I'm not quite sure. I can just go off of what I think, but they're rated pretty hard. I hit 5 torpedoes on a John Bart who had 60,000 hit points and he died. 5 torpedoes. So that's a lot. That's a lot of damage. And then and I think that these things have such a low. I think it's a 1 minute and 10-second reload on their torps, maybe 70-second reload on their torps.
Yeah, I think it's 70. Yeah.
It is fantastic, and these things are just run around the corner on somebody. Yeah, make sure that you have enough hit points to do this though, because try to preserve as many hit points as you can at the beginning. So if you start getting shot at by things, get to about 10 to 12 kilometers away, and then continue whatever you're going to go do. At under 10 kilometers, it becomes less maneuverable. But over 10 kilometers, the shells become a little bit more loopy, and you're able to actually dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge up underneath these shells, and just really frustrate the hell out of the enemy team. Kind of like you're shooting at a cruiser from long range, but it's 12.
Yep. Yep.
So, but anyway, I've actually really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of surprised too. I'm surprised, and then I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that I am enjoying something that is so aggressive, which is fits what I like to do anyway. But I'm also enjoying the fact that it has no heal, it has no smoke, and it's just go 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 the entire game. Unless you want to stop and pew pew, then that's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely there's a time to go balls to the walls and try to get away with something that you normally wouldn't do, and then if you can balance that with being smart, it's a super effective ship, like really effective, and it's just a blast to play. I wish they were all like.
All right, now let's talk about the guns, because some of the failings. All right, now this is the Mogador we've been talking about. The Mogador is fantastic. It's got double gun turrets. It's got 4 sets of guns, so it's got 8 guns. They fire off You can get it down to 5.5 seconds if you take BFT and the reload module. 5.5 seconds is pretty good, especially for this. Normally it's 7 seconds or so. It is those guns. They hit like the Japanese DD guns, fired rapidly, and in fact, I think they hit a little bit harder than the Japanese HE shells. Now, downsides to this entire line. If we want to talk about some of the downsides, I really still struggle with the single gun boats, or the single turret, or the single guns on turrets boats. So if you only have 4 guns on 4 turrets. I struggle with those because I just don't feel like I'm doing enough, or I have to do too much to get any kind of results, which falls under that category of the Grimmy. And I know how good the Grimmy is, and some of these other gunboats, the Minsk, the Podvyazky, those are straight up gunboats, but they only have 1 single gun per turret. So I do find that they struggle in that aspect, and without a reload booster, you're not doing much. So I still find it hard to balance a ship around a particular item or a particular consumable. I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean it's okay. I do also find that the lower tiers, they tend to struggle. Like 2, 3, and 4, they do fine whatever versus what you're going to shoot at, because let's be honest, most of those DDs down there, they're kind of shit. But when you start getting into 5, when you hit the Jaguar and the Guepard, they're good boats, but they're very situational boats. You could still do a lot of really nice things in there, and I think the Sirocco is the premium. The premium ship does have a reload booster, so that one's a little bit better than the Jaguar is as its counterpart at 5. Man, some of them lower ones have 6-kilometer detection, which is pretty good. But once you hit the real meat and potatoes of this line at 7 and 8, you start to see where they fail just a little bit on survivability. How many of these boats have you gotten out of the boxes?
None.
You haven't got any?
I've gotten none.
Wow.
I had no missions, no nothing. So like the Mogador is the only thing I can go off of. I don't know, and it's like
all right.
Some of the other people in our clan, they said some things, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. Well, and I don't know how many others in our clan have the Mogador, but I just kind of laugh, and I was like, well, it gets better, And so,
it definitely gets better. I ended up getting 5, 6, and 7. I didn't get the 8, and that's the only one that I'm missing currently. Is the Fantastic, but I did play them during testing phase, and 2, 3, and 4 are back into testing phase, and the Kleber at 10 is in testing phase again. And I could sit there and tell you the Kleber is just a better Mogador. So if you like the Mogador at tier 8 or tier 9, you're gonna love the Kleber at tier 10. If you guys have the tier 8, when I played the tier 8, it's pretty good. I still think it's kind of meh with just the single turrets or the single gun turrets, but it can do a lot of really nasty things. And but honestly, once you get to tier 9, you might as well just sell the rest of them because you're not going to want to play any of the other ones.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's pointless to have them because there's other ships that fulfill the same role but do it better, and they got better detectability, and The only thing the selling point is the sheer speed, which, cool if you're gonna hit and run, but it doesn't really happen like that in this game for the most part.
I think a lot of it also involves at tier 8. You finally get a shell speed buff at tier 8, whereas tier 7 and below they suffer from. I'm not sure. I might be going out on a limb here, but the North Carolina has like some of the slowest shells in the game at like 700 and change. These are comparable to that at 700 and change at tier 5, and tier 6, and tier 7. So they are very loopy, and it's very hard to make things happen when you aren't having to loop. Now, obviously, a skilled player is going to go in there and not have any problems because they're able to judge it and they're able to adjust quickly. But for somebody like me, who's just an average guy and an average player, I struggled with the 5, 6, and 7 trying to get things done at longer ranges. So I ended up having to put myself a little bit closer, which caused me not to be able to dodge enough, and I end up dying quite early. So that is a frustration about those, and then the single guns are also frustrating as well. But overall, I think the line really picks up at 7. 8 is better than 7. It's not a downgrade like somebody going to the Fiji to the Edinburgh, or it's not necessarily a downgrade, but it's definitely a sideways upgrade. And then 9 is on point, and 10 is on point too. So that's something to look forward to for somebody interested in these and interested in doing some serious damage with these guns and with those torpedoes. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. All right, last minute thoughts on the whole campaign. I mean, we had the directive drop. I guess last night it dropped yesterday. To get 3 million credits on every particular nation. I'm almost done with those. Did you get all yours done?
No, I did the 5-for-1 with you, and then I did a little bit of Russian and U.S. I think that was it. I went to bed.
All right, so that's a very nice segue into our next topic here, which I wanted to talk about and and I wanted to get your guys' opinions. Of course, we're hanging out with my man Fitz in your aft. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns for whatever we're talking about today, go ahead and go at SerVenomIK down here in the bottom, and I will copy pasta those in like we normally do for the Q&A session at the end. All right. So as I was playing these things last night, I started to notice yesterday was a bad dispersion day for me. I was so frustrated at making shots and splitting people from 3 kilometers. 2 of my 3 shells go this way, and the other one splits off to the right-hand side from 3 kilometers when they're bow into me. I'm like, give me one, you know. I have noticed over the past. Now, obviously the game hasn't changed. The game has changed from the last 3 years that I've been playing the game, but I have noticed that significantly the Battleship Dispersion has gotten worse over the last couple of years. Now, maybe this is just confirmation biased, and maybe everybody knows that you remember all the shitty shots you have, but nobody remembers the 3 dev strikes in between the 2 shitty shots that you have. I get that, and I understand that, and that's from me, Jace, by the way. What do you think? How do you perceive the dispersion right now? I mean, like, you take some of the most accurate boats, say your Montana that you played yesterday. You take the Montana boat. Is it still as consistent as it was? Are we starting to see signs of what I like to dub, or what everybody's potato armor? I mean, everybody knows that dead still broadside shot takes you 3 volleys to kill him anymore, wherein 3 years ago that would have been a 1-shot kill.
Yeah. I noticed it probably late last year, I'd like to think. Well, I was playing with you. I don't know if you remember it, but there was a Wooster that was right in front of me, and I was in my Montana, and it was within 5 kilometers, and I straddled him and said some choice words, and then he angled away, which is weird. Then I triple citadeled him and nailed him. But in clan battles and in ranked, I would use the Montana, especially if I knew that there would be maps where the cruiser would get a little radar spot, and do his little thing and sit there, and I would do the spotter plane, shoot over the island and dev strike them,
Right.
and it was pretty easy to do. And now it's like I don't feel that comfortable doing it now, because it's like, I don't know if we're going to get into the overpin mechanic too that I've been seeing a little bit more of, but just the accuracy doesn't seem to be there. Our first clan battle match that I played for this season, I used the North Carolina. I'm comfortable with it. I know it could do. I couldn't hit crap. And
now was
our
it
shot caller DWO, he's like, "Do you have a Russian battleship?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have pretty much all the battleships." And so we switched to that and started seeing results. And I don't know if it's the Russian bias thing or whatever, but I took the North Carolina out again in randoms, and it was still kind of the same thing. And like there would be like, it was like 1 out of every 5 shots I felt was where it used to be. Like I don't need to have all 9 shells going into a dime hole or anything like that. But it was like it's like I was just straddling a lot more, and that's where the shell goes above or below but doesn't hit the target. And I have been noticing that a lot lately with the battleships.
I've also been seeing with all the battleships now. Generally, the American battleships, when they are going from your guns to the target, they generally disperse in a left to right angle. They disperse and they generally go flat.
Now they're going up and down.
Exactly, and it's like that they have shifted some kind of numbers somewhere, in the game to where now I'm seeing more of a Japanese battleship dispersion, and everybody knows the Japanese battleship dispersion disperses vertically more than it does horizontally, meaning you'll have three shots coming out. You'll have your shots coming out like this. Say you have six shots, and they end up, when you shoot them, they end up like this on top of each other. That's what I'm seeing a lot lately with boats that wouldn't normally do that. I've seen it with the Montana. I've seen it with the Musashi. I've seen it with the Yamato, even with the legendary mod upgrade. I'm seeing a lot more errors in the shots. Now I don't know if that's there could be a couple of things. It could be me making a mistake, which as soon as I pull that trigger, it's all out of my hands. So I don't know if it's me making a mistake, or is it how good that enemy player is that I'm shooting on that's causing me to straddle, or is it just some kind of mechanic in the game to where that it's changed and they haven't said anything about it. Now, obviously, they don't have to tell us anything about it. It would be nice if they did, but they don't have to say anything about the change. And I honestly think that something along the line has changed over the past 2 years to where battleships have become the most, I wouldn't necessarily say the weakest, but the most inconsistent with its shots. And that's kind of dangerous, I think, for the game, because it leaves these cruisers out on the board, and these cruisers are pretty much dominating the games right now.
Yeah, cruisers are really strong right now. And so, like, when I see you play the Slava, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm a closed beta tester. I was like, oh, that's how it used to be, you know. And so I'm really itchy for that one. I want it, you know. And so, but yeah, you know, the vertical dispersion, I don't know. It's just a little frustrating. Normally, when something's within 13 kilometers, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do some damage, and sometimes I'm like, what the hell? And then when I, like what you're saying, you know, if it's a mistake, sometimes I think I'm a mistake, and I'll put that in the wrong spot, and all of a sudden I'll get two citadels, you know, but it's from two shells that they just ended up going there, and then, you know, the other 6 to 10 shells went, you know, to the moon, you know. And so it's like, I mean, I'll take it, you know. Thanks.
Well, I mean, you have no choice but to take it, and I don't know. I mean, that begs the question. Well, I mean, has it changed? I mean, I can sit there and I can tell you 3 years ago when a shot was going to kill somebody. I knew it. All right, this guy's dead. I got him.
Yep.
And you know, some of the other guys out there have started to notice the same thing. But there's an interesting dynamic that I think that has happened. If you guys will notice, when a new boat comes out, it's pretty goddamn good. And then slowly over the next couple of patches, it starts to not become as consistent. You saw it with the Missouri. You see it with the Musashi. You see it with, I'm sure, the Bayard now that it's just come out. The Georgia has come out. It used to be really, really strong on its accuracy, and then slow. It's only been 2 patches, but I've already seen a lot of real inconsistencies with it just from one patch gone. So, or 2 patches, however long it's been. But they do these little shadow nerfs or something in the coding is making them not as good. You take the North Carolina. Back 2 years ago, North Carolina was spot on just about every time you pulled the trigger. Now it's all on you. It's all on you to put the shots in the right target, and I know that is a hard thing to do with that particular shell speed. But usually you would get 2 or 3 hits in there. So when I look at something like the Slava that comes out, that's actually able to get more than one shell in very nice, pretty dispersion in a nice tight little circle, I'm like, yes, please, because this reminds me of the old school battleships, and the reasons why I really enjoyed the old school battleships. So bring that thing out early, and not only that, I don't think that they go through and address the dispersion problem, or what I perceive as a problem, and a lot of people aren't perceiving as a problem because they're looking at the. I think wargaming doesn't perceive it as a problem because they're looking at the numbers aspect of it, and the numbers are staying relatively the same, so there's no fucking problem. But when I see it, and I see it over and over and over and over again, and it just really literally ruins your game. It causes you to die. It causes you to miss a shot that should be no-brainer. Should be a no fucking brainer shot, taking the game out of your hands and putting it up to RNG. It's very frustrating for a lot of players. How do you feel about that?
Nah, you hit it on the head. You know, and then I don't know if we're going on the overpen mechanic, but it's like you either get a bad shot or you get 5 overpens, you know, and it's like, I think last year you would have been dead. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they do that, and like you said, they don't have to tell us that.
Yeah.
That's really up to them. So I mean, if they're going to be transparent, you know, and they somehow look at this or whatever, and they're like, oh, these guys have a point here. Let us show that, no, it hasn't changed, or yes, it has changed because of this, you know. And then I'll understand, you know, why they did or didn't, you know, do something. I always like that. So, I mean, that'd be cool, but it is what it is. And, you know, so now it makes me just kind of want to play the Russian battleships more, because I know within 13K, it's going to be good dispersion and whatever. You know?
Well, you know, I've sat there and I said that, and that, my next point was to watch the dispersion of the Russians and how inconsistent it becomes under 12, because that's their bonus and that's their trait, right? Right. And I've already started to see it a little bit, because I've played the Kreml and I've played the Tier 9, the Soyuz. I've played both of these boats, and honestly, I don't see the big deal about them. Like, I get them, they're tanky as hell, and you know, when you put shots down range, they tend to be pretty decent. But I have also noticed that at that 13 to 15 kilometer range, or 13 to 12 kilometer range, or you know, under that, I've still have a lot of, what the fuck, why am I only hitting one shell here? Why is this going everywhere? So there's some interaction. I honestly think to solve these dispersion problems, take away the percent dispersion off the camos. Take away the camo buff for the dispersion. I think that solves a lot of it as well. Now, this is something that we've talked about a long time ago, before we were even doing the podcast. Me and B6 were talking about it, and we both agreed. I said, if you take away the dispersion buff or whatever off of the camos, then you solve a lot of other problems. And you saw it when you're playing in those co-op games. How accurate were you with your battleships? You were pretty goddamn accurate, right? And you're going to sit there, and you're going to sit there and tell me that 4% or 3%, whatever it is, it's one or the other, actually makes that much of a fucking difference? 4% change? There's got to be something else going on. Where's the other negative on your dispersion coming from? I don't know.
Tis true.
So I'm sorry, but I just don't feel that 4% makes that much of a difference. But you can see it when you go into co-op and when you go into random games, shooting against people that have camo and then shooting against people that don't have camo.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I play with it. Because I don't like getting hurt or touched or whatever, you know, pew-pewed on, when I have a naked boat. And of course, the chat telling me I have a naked boat too, and so whatever.
Well,
you know, so I don't like the feelings I get from that, you know, and so I have it on, you know, +3, +4, whatever it is, that particular camo, and but I mean, that's a good point. In the co-op, it was great. Now, albeit they were very objective based, and destroyers would go right through their smoke, and you know, they'd stay on the straight line.
It doesn't matter though. I mean, the point remains the same. But not only that, But with boats like the legendary mod Yamato, and then you're putting on accuracy mod, you're putting on accuracy mod on the Missouri, you're putting on these accuracy mods on all of these boats. Now, some of them, like the Germans, you probably won't put accuracy mod on, so you're going to see a big error. You're going to see a big difference between good dispersion and shit dispersion. But when you're putting on something that needs to be accurate, like the Kreml or like the other one, that 4% really doesn't make any sense of why it's affecting the boat so much, because you're taking a minus 11% dispersion on the aiming mod or whatever that is, and then, you know, for the Americans, you're taking the plotting room, or if you want to take the other plotting room on the last slot, that's another 11%. You know, so I don't understand where this 4% continues to make it shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It would technically,
I get in there and program it myself. I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, it would technically wash out. It would technically wash. I think plotting room is 6% dispersion, and I don't know. Somebody look that up for me, and I'll let them know if somebody finds it. But the plotting room mod is like minus 6%, and then minus 11% for the third slot or for the last slot. Somebody look that up for me, and we'll talk about that later on. But either way. It's something to think about. So I challenge everybody out there. I'm going to challenge everybody right now. Go out there, put on these dispersion buffs, and then go out there and shoot these things and see if you see a difference. Now, I took 10 games playing in random battleships, playing in the Missouri. Playing in the Missouri, 10 games, and 9 out of those 10 games were absolute dog shit. Now, it could have been my own fault. I know I got wrecked over a couple of times because of my own mistakes. So those kind of go out the window. But when I was making shots, it was so hard to get damage anymore in the Missouri. And I know there's a lot of people out there saying that it's broken, and I want them to fix it. I'd like them to roll whatever they have done. I would like for them to roll it back to the way it was before, so we can actually punish these cruisers that are long-range HE spamming. That's their job. My job is to dominate these cruisers, and I can't do it if my dispersion is so inconsistent I can't count on it. How many times have you been playing a Henry, and they shoot at you 3 or 4 times, and then you just quit?
Yep.
And when they,
boy Henry.
Yeah, exactly. And when they do hit you, it's generally one shell. And if they do happen to catch you, how often or not is it overpin? Now, I understand that the spaced armor there does cause a lot more overpins, so maybe that's not a good example. But flat broadside from 3 kilometers should probably kill the guy, but you overpin. April Little White Mouse has brought up a point saying that the worst bite on an Omaha from 8 kilometers will not citadel it. It will only overpin from 8 kilometers in a worst bite.
Yuck.
And I'm like, wow, that's some interesting mechanics. Now I have to go back and relearn where I can citadel these people from. So hence why I think this game is generally played anywhere from 15 to 18 kilometers majority of the time. What do you think?
It is. No, it totally is. That's I don't like going inside that unless I'm a DD, of course. But for a cruiser, no way. I ain't going inside that. I don't need to. I tend to get punished severely, and there's not a lot of ships that have the shell velocity capability to adjust to my wiggling. You know, the kiting, the ASD hacking, whatever you want to call it. So that's why I do it. And then I have enough time to look at the shells. Okay, they're going to go here. I just need to turn my boat here for no damage or minimum damage, and that's about it. So
it's very frustrating for a player. It's very frustrating for a player that has played this game for a long time and has an expectation of their skill ability and their level ability, and when the game tells them no, you're basically taking the game out of my hands. And I'm sorry, but that's not number one, that's not fair, and number two, that's not good for the game. because I want to be rewarded for what I'm doing, and rewarded for,
Yep.
you know, if I have a bad game, I'm generally the first person to say, "Fuck, I had a bad game. I'm playing like shit." I've been doing that for the last 2 days. Uh, but if I'm out there and I'm having a good game, well, I won't say much. I'll be like, "Hey, that was a decent game," or whatever. And I can tell the difference. I can legit tell the difference when I'm having a good game and when the game is fucking me over. Now, how many of you guys out there, and I'm interested in hearing, how many of you guys out there have those good games, but then also have those good, should have been good games, but the game has said no? I mean, I have that too, and that's RNG, and that's something that you can't account for, and you can't control it. Now, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit. You can kind of manipulate some of that shit a little bit and just, wait. Or how many times have you had those games, Fitz, where the first like 4 shots you just absolutely monster people, and then you miss everything for the rest of the game?
Right.
Or you do nothing for half of the game, and then all of a sudden you get 4 kills just like that because you're on point. It doesn't make sense. I would like to put
It's
both.
not consistent.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I digress. Any last little bit? Any last little comments on this dispersion thing? Any way you would like it to go, or any other comments of maybe a reason why?
I would like to see if they actually change the overpin mechanic or something like that. I get pretty disgusted when I see 8 overpins, and I'm like, really? How does the math get involved in that? Do I need to go out and buy a lottery ticket because maybe 4 lottery tickets because that just happened to be 4 times in a row? And then I don't know, make battleships great again. There we go, done.
All right, so let's move on. If you guys want to comment about that dispersion, I'm interested in what you guys have to say about it. How y'all feel that it's been going for the last couple of years, or in your experience at all. Well, anyway, type those at ServantMIK, and we'll talk about those here at the end of the during the Q&A session. All right.
Actually, I hope to actually touch on that again because I forgot what I was going to say. That's why I said done, and then it just came back. So
go ahead, say it right now.
I was watching what's his name? The guy for World of Warships, Sub Octavian,
mm-hmm.
and I can't remember if he said it or if someone that that was known to be someone in the community said the way that World of Warships plays is that they want everyone, they don't want someone to have like an 80% win rate. They want everyone to be around 50. So they it had to do with the like an ELO question, ELO like it's in World of Warships or League of Legends.
League of Legends, right.
And so they explained the mechanic was they want everyone to be around 50% because you're winning and you're losing equally, and they don't want it to where you're going to have 10 super unicorns on one team and then a bunch of 30%ers on the other. And so they put the ships together, so you have like one unicorn and maybe he's been on a win streak or something like that, and kind of cut him down a little bit. So I was wondering if the RNG's mechanic had to play with that, where like how you said or we said too, it's not consistent. You play like a god first 4 minutes and all of a sudden it sucks, and then otherwise, or if you live through the first half and then all of a sudden you get 4 kills like bam bam bam, I was like, whoa, where'd that happen? So I was wondering if that mechanic can somehow be explained or involved into the game too. So
expanding on that little last section there is if you notice that you'll be making the same shots when you're playing like shit when you're playing like awesome and you're just on point, and then the very next shot and like 5 or 6 7 8 shots 8 minutes later it's just nothing. You're making the exact same shots and then you do nothing with them, or the game you are like, okay, this should kill him, and it's really nice tight dispersion, and it just straddles him, and it goes right at the last minute, and it flares out, and you miss, or it flares out, and you're like, okay, this looks like it should kill him, and on the screen it shows you hit the guy 5 times visually, but you only get 1 bounce and 1 overpin. I think that there's a faulty mechanic on some of the hit things, and I think it has something to do with oversaturation. Because check this out. Let me ask you this: how many times have you guys dropped torpedoes on somebody and two of them hit the same spot? One of them does damage, the other one doesn't.
Right.
You get 10,000 damage, and then you get 0 damage on that next torpedo. I get that a lot, and I've seen that a lot. So I'm thinking that maybe there's something to do with a delayed time on when you can actually hit something. Maybe a split second or half a second or whatever it is. But I've had 2 shots come out hand in hand, both legit hit the side of this boat, only count for 1 shell.
Yeah, that's when it's like, what? Mind blown.
So where do you go? What do you do? How do you counteract that? How do you counteract that? So this is where I'm thinking. I hit 6 shells all in the same little tight spot. I get 1 Citadel, and I only get credit for actual hitting 3 times. 2 overpins and a full pin. I understand the Citadel counts as a ribbon as well, so it's not counted on the actual hit sheet. You remember that? That used to be the way that it worked. If you would fire a shot and you get a Citadel, it would be you would have hit 2 shells, but only one registered as a hit and the other one registered as a Citadel.
Citadel, yep.
So you have to take that into consideration also when you're thinking about this way. But I think that there's something to that. 2 shells hitting at the same time in the same area, does it actually count for damage? Because we see it on torpedoes. We see it on torpedoes because I hit 13,000 damage on one torpedo, and the next torpedo does nothing. And I'm like, how did I not hit anything? And then people are like, oh, it's oversaturation. I'm like, no, wait a second. There's oversaturation that hits for less damage. So if I got 13,000, then the next torpedo that hit simultaneously was 8,000, I could understand that. But I'm talking about 13,000 total that popped up on the board and no damage on the second one.
Yep.
That's something to think about.
Shooting the same spot and you know, the same whatever, you know, you overpinned a torpedo. That's all you did. I mean, that explains it right there. You know, so stop doing that. You got to hit a different spot, obviously.
But yeah. All right. Anyway, I can see where this is going. So there you go. Any comments on that, guys? Y'all let me know, and we'll talk about during the Q&A session. Guys, we're hanging out with my man Fitz in your aft. It's a 5-inch clan member. Been there since day one. Been around the channel here at twitch.tv/SirVenomIK. You guys can hit me up over on Twitter at Sir_Venom_IK if you guys want to talk about anything else. So, all right. So let's move on into starting August the 8th. So 2 days from now. 2 days from now, the new Tier 9 ranked season comes available. Woo! Fuck. That's what I have to say about that. Yes, I'm excited for ranked season. Fuck, I got to go through another goddamn ranked season. Are you excited about ranked season? Well, let's not even talk about the ranked season yet, but are you excited for another ranked season?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love ranked. It's fun. A little
Is it
stressful sometimes, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's because I don't play DD.
This is true. I play a lot of destroyers. So this one is Tier 9. This is going to be August the 8th through September the 3rd. So you have quite a bit of time to actually make this rank 1. It is a normal rank season starting with 18 ranks, going all the way down to, hold on, I got this thing wrote down somewhere. Standards 12 is revocable, and who cares about the rest of them, because you guys will probably be at 12 pretty quick, for the most part, I assume.
Hopefully.
Yeah. You still have, well, I wrote it down. Apparently, I don't have it anymore. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So let's just go ahead and dip into rank season here. It's Tier 9. Tier 9, as we saw the last time they did a Tier 9 rank season, it was the arms race, which I thought it was great. I thought that
so fun.
arms race was probably one of the best rank seasons that they've done, and I think arms race is to a point now where they can put that into the main rotation on randoms.
Agreed.
I think that it's time for a shakeup. I think it's time to add another rotation in there. Standard battle is boring as all hell. Domination has become the actual fun mode because you're actually doing something. You're not just hanging around and camping most of the time like you do in standard battles.
Yep.
Epicenter, I still love Epicenter, but there's a lot of people that hate it, and the reason they hate it is because it gets them out of their comfort zone. They have to move, and they have to play the objective.
Yep.
Same thing with arms race. People are going to hate arms race because they lose because they're not playing the objectives. They're not playing smart. I think arms race brings another let's go actually play the game instead of just sitting back and sniping.
Definitely brings another dish to the meat and potatoes.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy it. It's like it was a very fun concept. Arms race was when they first brought it out. I think it's a fun concept for a rank season. It's a very interesting concept for a rank season. And as we saw with the last rank sprint was Epicenter, and that was a really good rank season. That sprint, I know it was only a sprint and it was only a tier 7, but that was a really good rank season. I really enjoyed that rank season because it got people out of their comfort zone. They had to play this thing, and you saw the people that refused to do it. What happened to them?
They suffered.
They suffered because they would lose the caps, and they would not push the caps, and they would not fight for the caps, and they would not fight around the caps, and they would go hide behind islands. And fuck, you want to go hide behind that left island? Fuck you. I'm going right into that middle, and I'm going to take that cap, and we're going to get a huge point advantage. Now, it puts the pressure on them to come out and puts the pressure on them to actually kill to catch up, which I always thought was if you can force them into something that they don't want to do, you're going to have advantage over them.
Definitely.
So
yeah, and it actually made the games a lot faster too, which I enjoyed.
7-8 minute games.
Yeah. I don't think I had a game that went longer than 15 minutes or even got close to that. So,
we had a few that went long time.
Worked out pretty good.
Yeah. Toward the end of it, when I started playing the Hydia, and I had a partner that I'd actually picked up out of a game. It's like, hey man, I'm solo. You want to play a few? And he was like, sure, pick me up. So I was like, all right. So I picked him up, and then we went, and he played something, and I played the Hydia, and we just dominated him. And then there was just a few games toward the end of the rank season that it was very long drawn out games, but we ended up winning them anyway. But overall, it was a really good rank season. All right, so let's talk about this rank season, Tier 9, Battleships. I'm gonna give you my top 3. You take your top 3. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, Battleship top 3. I've got to go with the Russian Battleship, the Musashi, and you can really pick anything here, but I'm gonna go with the Missouri for my top 3.
I think we're gonna see a lot of the Soyuz anyway, but I think the top 3 for me would be the Moosh, the JB, and Missouri.
Mm-hmm. JB's a very good choice. We're talking about Tier 9 premium boat, John Bart. I also want to throw this out there because I saw a lot of success with it during the last Tier 9 rank season, or some of the things that I've been seeing in randoms lately. The FDG, Freddy.
That's actually it's a really good boat. It doesn't have the knockout power that I like, but as far as like late game, when like say there's a destroyer or two, and you know where they're at, you can move into position, and then especially with the secondaries and stuff like that, and the hydro, you're gonna get a shot off with your main battery, of course, but you're gonna be able to keep whittling them down for quite a ways.
11.6.
Yeah, 11.6. You'll keep hitting them, and you'll keep hitting them, and you'll keep hitting them, and and so that's definitely a good strength of that boat. But as far as knocking a cruiser off the map in one shot, I mean,
you can do it, but it'd be.
But good luck.
Good luck.
So
now
that's definitely it's not a ship to say no to.
Right.
I'll
There's
say
two
that.
sets of guns on there, the 406s and then the 420s. Obviously, the 420s would be probably the way people want to go. But I know there's going to be a contingent of people out there that say, oh, DPM, DPM. So they'll take the 406s instead. And I think that they will suffer. I think the 420s are a little bit wonkier. But when they do hit hard. Now let's talk about the newest
Yes.
boat in that Tier 9 bullshit is the Georgia.
No, you'll see it, but no.
I don't
Um,
think that these boats are going to be as effective. Obviously, there's going to be some games where it goes crazy and it goes ham, but I think that the Georgia just doesn't have a place in ranked season. It's just not good for ranked. It's only 6 guns. Why would you take something that has 6 guns over something like the Iowa
exactly.
that has 9 guns, or the Musashi that has 9 guns, or the JB that has 8 guns? I just don't see the reason for it. It's not tanky. It's not as tanky as the Iowa is. The guns are inaccurate, and even though they're big and they can do a lot of damage, I just don't really see the point of this boat in the rank season.
Yeah. If the let's just say all 6 shells went into something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. But you're not. That doesn't happen. So okay, there's a destroyer in front of you. You're gonna hit it what with 1 shell instead of say maybe 4. And you're gonna overpin it, of course, but it's 1 shell and it's not 4. So instead of uh, 4 to 7K that you can chunk off of it with a good shot,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get what 1,200 joy,
It's
and
1,500.
but it's got secondaries and it's fast, and
Yeah.
so you might be able to whittle it down a little bit, but you don't have the hydro, so I might as well just take a Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Get the same.
it's got a speed boost. Okay, cool. Well, so does the destroyer probably, and all of a sudden you're this spotted straight line moving target that, like you said, is not tanky. And later, uh, thanks for the help uh, for the other team.
Thanks for the
That's it.
star. This is going to be the
Yeah,
star
right.
farmers, right?
Yep.
So, what do you guys think about battleships in Tier 9? What are you guys going to take? Give me 1 or 2 picks a person, and we'll get to those a little bit later on. All right, so there's the battleships. Overall, I think battleships are going to be key here. No carriers, which is fantastic because there's nothing at Tier
Thank you,
9.
God.
And I'm glad that they didn't do it. Now, we did see carriers in the last ranked season, and I thought they were terrible. They either did too much or they didn't do anything. And I don't know if that's because of the way the mechanics of the game work or the way the players were playing it, but I just found that carriers really didn't do a whole lot, and they really didn't carry a whole lot of games. And I also goes into my other theory about carriers not being very effective at all anyway, but that's besides the point. And so, all right, what do you think about them not having carriers? I mean, what did you enjoy about the carriers last ranked season to this season?
What did I enjoy?
Did you enjoy it? Did you? All right, so let me rephrase. Let me push this a different direction. Did you think that carriers needed to be in the Tier 10 ranked season?
No. I see why they did it, and I'm sure they had the most players ever play the last ranked season or whatever. I don't think they need to be in ranked, just simply because a good carrier player versus a bad one makes a huge difference. And then also with the A mechanic, it was really they're just dumb, especially with their Hikiryus, and it's like, do you pick the carrier that's going to knock the crap out of a DD, or are you going to take a carrier that's not going to knock the crap out of anything else, and so where's the damage? Well, it's with the capital ships, but where's the spotting? It's with the DD, so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then they have such great spotting anyway, and they're just annoying, and you can't, it's I think I sank maybe 2 or 3 carriers last ranked season. So it made me change my ship to where I got the mod where my secondaries, I have 100% survivability, and so I literally had to just take whatever ship I was playing, just stay on my wherever my DD was. I would just stay on his ass, and then I would be the AA platform for him so that he could do objectives and stuff like that. So thankfully, I had a Kremlin that seemed to do pretty. But I don't know until they fix the AA. Where I think that it's just fair, and you have to play smart. I guess being a CB
Mm-hmm.
instead of hey, you're guaranteed damage. Then then I don't think they really belong. If anything, when it was like the RTS style and it was a bit trickier to play, I'd kind of chuckle, but you didn't see him a lot, and so
No.
it didn't really affect it that much. You didn't see the 8 carriers in queue ever
Right.
until last season. It's like, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so, it just, I don't know. I ranked out in only 120 games, and so
I hate you.
I know it didn't really affect me that much, but I could see everyone else, But I set my ship up, and I was shooting down 40, 50 planes a lot. And so, but I set my ship up like that, and it could have been set up differently, but it worked. I don't know if it was luck or skill or whatever, So,
A little bit of
like
both.
CVs, I don't know.
I
That's
think
it.
I think CVs have a hard time in competition. And I know a lot of people are going to be out there saying ranked season isn't competition, but I disagree because it is. It's the only thing that I perceive as competition that I'm willing to actually take part in. So I do think it's a competition. And the less boats that are on the game, or less boats that are in the game, the stronger that CV is. So you're already putting the enemy team
Yep.
at a disadvantage, and you're honestly, I think CVs just generally slow the game down a little bit further. The game is already slow enough as it is, and then now you're slowing it down to even a more of a snail's pace. They were fine. Honestly, they were fine. They didn't have too many impacts on some of the games that I had. There was times where I would not shoot down any planes, and they would hit me for 10 grand from the midway, damn Tiny Tims. And I'm like, there's literally nothing that I can do. I mean, I started maneuvering and turning into things and turning out of things, and it just didn't fucking matter. And that's one of the most frustrating things that you can do when playing as a destroyer is to, no matter what you do, you are at that guy's whimsy. He drops on you 10 grand, boom, instant like that, or 20 grand, whatever. It didn't matter.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so you end up using your smoke more often, and which is fine because there's times where I didn't use smoke at all, and then there's times I used all my smoke early. And it's a very frustrating concept. But overall, did I think that they had much of an impact on the game? Not really. Hacks had more impact than the midways did, because they were able to get in on the Demonies and the Worcesters and double and triple citadel them with their AP bombs, which I always thought was nice because fuck those guys, because they're the biggest threats. They're the
Right.
most dangerous people in a ranked season. I don't care how good the Battleship is. I don't care how good that DD player is. That radar is the most dangerous thing on the board. And if you can get rid of that, then you can pretty much have free reign doing whatever else you want to, if you're smart. So did they have a point? Yes. Did I want them in there? No. They were. Were they that effective? I really don't think so. Do they need to be in there anymore? Probably. I don't know. Maybe sometime in the future. But they still have to fix the AA, because they're already on another change in the PTS right now for AA. All right. So there you go. What do you guys think about CVs in the game during rank season? Plus, also give me your Battleship picks for this Tier 9 rank season as we move on into the cruisers. Cruisers at Tier 9. There are so many good ones. So many
Yes.
badass cruisers at Tier 9. This is another cruiser-heavy tier. I think the Battleships are a little bit more even with the cruisers here at Tier 9 than they are at Tier 10.
Yep.
And even Tier 8, I think that... I think that Tier 8 is probably the most balanced tier in the game, maybe Tier 6. And then Tier 9 is very close behind those. So what do you think? What do you think? Give me your top 3 picks for cruisers.
Well, as far as utility, the Donskoy is, if played right, is really strong. Buffalo, if played right, is really strong. Um, the oh, what's the tier 9 French one?
St. Louis.
Yeah, the St. Louis. That you're gonna see those people. Yeah, and they're gonna be those guys, and they're gonna be on the outside, and they're not gonna really help objectives. You know, save a star. Cool if you want to be that guy. Yeah, I mean, Corsos are strong. Um, I'm thinking about busting out my Alaska just because I just want to see what it can do. Um, Probably just because I have fun playing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I waited so long to play it
Right.
anyway. But it's a really strong boat too. It citadels so much stuff, and if you have a 19-point captain, um, it can be set up really well. So, but
Do you
yeah,
find it
so
interesting that they're 305s, I believe, on that 305s or 310s, one of the two. I find it really 305. Okay, I find it really interesting that I have an easier time citadeling with 305s than I do with 15-inch guns.
right. Yeah. It's
That's a
just
little
you got to play
side
it
note.
smart. You can't play it like the Seattle, of course. That's another one that I'm sure gonna see a lot of. That's a really strong boat. And then a good player and with some balls, Radar Neptune.
Hmm.
Those are
Out
pretty
on the
strong
flank.
too. Yep. Strong boat. I mean, there's a lot
There's
of
so many good boats.
there's a lot of good boats. I mean, it's hard to really pick a top three. I think it's on player preference and play style.
All right, well, try to pick one. I'm going to give you my 3 picks here in a
Okay.
second. So go ahead and you pick yours.
I'm just Donskoy, Seattle, and then the Frenchie bastard.
St. Louis. All right, so my top 3 picks: Buffalo, Kronstadt, and then I picked Alaska. I believe I picked the Alaska.
No, Kronstadt's my number 3.
And then my sleeper
Totally
pick.
forgot about that.
Here's my pick that I want to see. I won't do it because I don't play cruisers in rank season. The Ibuki. 203 Ibuki. Oh, so nasty. And especially since it got the accuracy buff, so now it shoots like a Zao, it's going to be a very, very strong ship. It's got some pretty big torps on the back end of it. You're going to play it exactly like the Zao, dodged up, dip, dive, and dodge. And if you need to push in on people, man, they're going to be hard-pressed to kill you. Playing around caps, you can get 6, 7, 8,000 damage volleys on other cruisers, other battleships with its HE. Its AP is solid on the side. I think it's a sleeper pick, man. I think people are going to be like, oh, radar, radar, radar. But they do need that whittled down boat, and that whittled down boat, I think, falls to two things: the St. Louis and the Ibuki. I think those are probably two of the best whittled down boats in the game, or at the tier at least. I would say the Rune, but it's such a weird play style that I don't think a lot of people are going to be very effective with the Rune. So,
yeah, just because of the way the turrets are laid out.
Yeah.
Good boat, still is, but you know.
So there you go. Buffalo number 1. Again, 203s. Good radar, solid 10-kilometer radar. Lasts for a year, I guess. Can really hold down a corner if somebody's pushing around. It's got good AP on it, good HE. Kronstadt, for obvious reasons, 12-kilometer radar and a fucking nose. Wonky dispersion and kind of questionable on its dispersion, but it does fine. And then the Alaska, just because I feel like I play that one a lot better than I do the Azuma.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Buki just because I saw so little of it. But the times I did see it, it was like they used it as like a hybrid destroyer cruiser. Yeah, because the detection is so good on it, and then the torps are fantastic.
Just don't go
That
broadside
last
to get
tier
them
9
off.
ranked was I saw this. I can't remember who he was, but like he would just kind of do his own thing, and he won so many games. Just because no one could ever see him. And if someone did see him, he'd disappear, and he would kite, and he would wiggle, and it was really hard to hit him, especially outside of 11. It was really hard to hit him. I was like, ooh, I hate you. And so, but yeah, with that dispersion buff that I got, I mean, yeah, it's a solid boat. You know, it's squishy, but really good boat. So I can't knock it at all. Another another good one, fun one to play if you could play it right.
Yeah. So that's not to say that none of them things aren't going to be ineffective. All of these boats at Tier 9 are fantastic. So play whatever you're comfortable in. These are just our opinions and our picks.
Yep.
So overall, cruisers are. I think cruisers make or break this game. Honestly, like, well, I'm going to say this now, and then I'm going to totally contradict it when we start talking about DDs. But I think cruisers make or break the game. If you can have a cruiser that's smart enough to go and support that DD, like we were the other day, or like we were last night playing the Mogador, I think that you can dominate one side of that board with just you and one other person. Now, obviously, you have to have the angles, and you have to have the right ship, and you have to have the right people interacting with each other. But overall, I think cruisers can be very effective in this rank season, spotting the caps, defending the caps, pouring down the fire damage on the battleships to get them whittled down, to get them eating through their heals, eating through their repairs if they're Russian. That's what you need to do to win these games at rank season. So cruisers are very crucial in this, and you want to be also, not only do you want to put that damage down, this is where I think that stuff like the Henry and stuff like the St. Louis kind of fail at that, is because they really can't push. They really cannot come close. If they come close, they generally get smacked around, or they get a bunch of overpins, and then they're totally effective. But that's besides the point. But generally, what are they going to do? They're not going to be around the objectives. They're going to be so far out of the objective that it doesn't matter what they do or how much damage they do. They're just going to lose the game because they're pushing in underneath that. So they're giving up too much to be effective, I think. So as good as the St. Louis is, and as good as the stuff like the Henry is, I just don't feel that particular play style suits rank season very much. That suits more of a, I'm going to keep my star, fuck the team.
Yep. Yep. That guy. Oh, you're that guy. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Whereas some of the other boats, Seattle's a very good choice. It's an island humper. It's got 9 kilometer. I think it's 9 kilometer radar that lasts another year, and it is
right.
Pretty decent loops, pretty decent arcs, and you can do a lot of good stuff with that. And you can slaughter DDs with it, as that's your job. You're supposed to be better than the DDs, and you're supposed to be spotting those guys or having the DD spot for you and then supporting your DDs. So I think cruisers played correctly are going to be very, 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 very valuable this rank season, as they are every rank season.
Yep.
So what do you guys think? What are your destroyer choices here, boys? What are your destroyer choices as we move, or not destroyer, but cruiser choices as we move into the next section, cruisers, and we'll get to some of those here at the Q&A session a little bit later on. Last minutes on cruisers before we move on.
You really can't go wrong. Like I said, it's play style. All the cruisers, I mean, they can get deleted, but for some reason they could take a lot of punishment too, which is fine, you know. So some could take a little bit more, but I know I'm going to see a lot of Seattles, and it's a light cruiser, but like for some reason it feels like a heavy cruiser with the punishment it can take. You know, not with the damage output, but man, they are annoying sometimes. You know,
it's hard. It's hard to kill them. I mean, like I find myself very, very difficult time citadeling and wiping Seattles and Worcesters off the board. I have a hard time. Hard time getting those guys off the board, even when they're sitting dead still, and I hit them for 3 or 4 shells, where I would think that that should be a citadel and he should die. It's generally an overpin. Every once in a while, you'll get a nice full pin on him, and you'll get 5,000 or 6,000 damage.
Yep.
But the cruisers are very good. All right, moving on into the class that I'm probably going to play the most of this season, destroyers. Now, guys, go ahead and put out your destroyer picks here.
Balls.
As we saw in the last Tier 9 rank season, the best destroyer to play was the Jutland. That was the best destroyer to play last season. So I took that as my number 1 pick, and then I took Z46 as my number 2, And then Kitakaze for number 3, just because we saw a shitload of Kitakazes and a shitload of Jutlands, but not too many 46s during the last Tier 9 rank season, which I thought that was pretty unique. And the fact that I ended up ranking out in the 46 is something a little bit different. Go ahead with your top 3 picks.
Those, but I think so I would say number 1 and number 2, which is still number 1 for me, would be the Jutland or the 46. And it's because of the 46 has a better hydro, of course.
5 kilometers.
Yeah. The Jutland has one. It sucks, but the way that it can go in and out, whether where you want to get some spotting, you're like, oh crap, I'm going to use one of my 17 smokes that last 30 seconds, but and then it's got to heal, so it can take a little bit of damage, get in and out, and it's like, oh crap, messed up. Whether it's a 46, it can still go in and stay in, and you're like, hey, you're spotted. I'm in my smoke. That guy's going to get a lot of damage. That whoever he's spotting. So that's like my 1 and 2, and I think that's a playstyle thing. They're both really strong. They're great boats. I think the Jutland has better torps in my opinion. But I would say that
both 10-kilometer torps.
Right, but
Jutlands hit harder, and you got the single.
Yeah, they hit harder. You can't conga line with them, which is always good for a nice laugh. The Kitakaze, of course, just oh man, I hate those damn things. Spam. Sheer spam that comes from them is just ridiculous. But I'd also like to say the black. Black used effectively, especially with those stupid slopedos that you don't see until it's like, what's that thing right there? Crap, I'm dead. And it's radar. And so I saw a lot of people counter the black with the Z46 because radar went down. Now the guy's sitting in the smoke. Z46 moves up. Black gets deleted, or it gets taken out of the game essentially, and he's on spotting duty. And so, but he's still spamming them stupid torpedoes. And I saw so many people, including myself, die from them. It's like,
43 knots, man, at 13.5 kilometers is pretty nuts.
But you don't see until they're like right next to you, which is so frustrating. And I get it. You get this 40 knot torpedo, and it's like, sure, it's kind of a gimmicky kind of thing. But if I had that, I would type in chat too. I would say Slopedo. I would over and over again.
Slopedo.
Yep. But definitely those. And I don't know. I kind of, because you and me, we consistently make rank 1. I'm gonna try my Mogador a couple times just to see, just for the laughs,
That is
like, well, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, I'm not. We're just having fun. And then I'll probably, actually get serious. But I think Udaloy is also a pretty strong pick if played correctly.
Mm-hmm. And
the trash can. I mean, you're not capping, you're not doing objectives, but I mean, those boats are strong. So
let's take a step back with the Udaloy here. I have the sleeper pick as the black, so I tend to agree with you on the black because it's just a Fletcher with radar and a Fletcher with slopedos, right? So it's basically placed exactly the same, with that extra little caveat of that radar. Where you go into the Udaloy, I think the Udaloy in double DD games is going to be deadly. It's going to be so nasty, especially if you have something that can spot for the Udaloy. It is a beautiful support ship. An absolutely gorgeous support ship that does a lot of damage, and those guns are fantastic. But a lot of people sleep on that boat for one reason or another. But the Udaloy is a phenomenal boat as a support DD. Now, if you're by yourself, Udaloy, you're probably not going to win, or you're probably going to struggle with that boat because you don't outspot much at all, and it's going to be.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. Also, they also can put in Udaloy, since it has a heal now, put it in with that that new captain that they got. What's it, Kuznetsov, and you get an extra heal.
Yeah.
You get that extra heal, and that is a very. I would take Udaloy over Trash Can, because Trash Can is generally balls to the wall gunboat out on the edge. You're not going to be pushing a whole lot until late game, so you have to have your team behind you. You have to have your team on point to making those kills. And let's be honest, the majority of the times they're not on point at all. They're not doing shit. So so that's something to take into consideration. But in the end, just like I said it before, you're going to want to play what you're comfortable in. If you're comfortable in the Jutland, play the Jutland. I think the Jutland, what makes it the most deadly boat at Tier 9 is its hit-and-run capability. You go in there, you do some damage to a Z46, 4,000-5,000, you hit your smoke, you turn away, you run out, you get your heal if you got some return damage, get your heal on, then you come back in. And eventually you're going to whittle those guys down. And it's not an aggressive boat. It's not an early aggressive boat. It is a longevity style. You're going to outlast the enemy team, or outlast those DDs. And once you have those DDs gone, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to. So Jutland number 1, 46. I love the 46. 5-kilometer hydro, monster AP, kind of weak sauce HE. But it can be very effective with its if they make that angle point bow into you. Then you switch over to your HE, but for the majority of the time, you're on that AP 4,000-5,000 damage volleys with your AP on the broadsides of other DDs. Really quick reload on its torps, kind of weak sauce torp.
Yeah, and then adrenaline rush is stupid reload on those torps.
Yep. Yep. And then for the third pick, I've already said it, Kitakaze. Not an aggressive boat. It is a let's go to this one point and let's shoot and let's hold the button down and let's whittle these things down. Let's support another DD just like the Udaloy you would if you had a Jutland and a Kitakaze. You're going to be hard pressed to get beat just based on the sheer amount of firepower that comes out. And it's a 5.9 kilometer detection on the Kitakaze, so you can go cap if you have to, especially early on. So
yep, absolutely.
Got to be careful with that, boys. Got to be careful with those. So there's you go. There's our picks for the destroyers. There's our pick for the rank season. What do you guys think of that rank season? We'll go into the Q&A session coming up here in just a little bit. Overall, I wish everybody good luck in the rank season. But there's one more thing that we haven't talked about yet. We haven't even mentioned it yet. Somebody in the chat mentioned it earlier. The Benham. Well, the Benham is a very formidable destroyer and a very weak destroyer at the same time. I find that the Benham with its torpedoes, it is very one-dimensional. You're not going to get into a knife fight with that because you're going to get your shit pushed in. 4 guns versus these others. Now, it's going to be a very frustrating rank season for a lot of DDs out there because the Benham is going to do nothing but drop torpedoes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to play area deniability, I mean, it's probably the best boat for that. But otherwise, I mean, I had a Benham and I was full health. I wasn't hit, and I found a Yu Yang. He had 4K, and he killed me. And I was like, oh, ouch.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, how did I play that wrong? Oh, I got in a knife fight with a superior
firepower
gun DD, which is pretty much all of them. So, yeah.
All right, so I attribute this.
Say no.
If you guys play like I did, I played the Kagero and the Yugamo with no smoke and only torpedo reloader. Right? That's the way I played them. That was the way I had the most fun and most enjoyability out of these boats. But if you play the Benham like you're playing that, even though you have a smoke, you have torpedo, you have a torpedo reloader, you have no smoke, so you have to really wait and pick your spots to shoot, and you don't want to shoot unless you can guarantee that you're going to make that kill, right, on other DDs. You don't want to shoot them if they have 10,000. You want to shoot them when they have about 3,000 or 4,000 hit points. That way you can actually, you're going to lose a lot of hit points, but you're going to be able to secure that kill for the team, and hopefully you get some help. But if you're not and you're out there by yourself, you've got to make sure that you can kill that guy, because the one thing you don't want to do is give away your fucking position, because then you're going to get shit on because you don't have a whole lot of hit points. It's like 17,000. you don't have a lot of guns. You only got 4, and they're loopy 127s, just like the rest of the Fletchers are. But you do have 16 torpedoes that reload 65 seconds. So play style of this thing in a rank season is to go to a cap, drop your sets of peds, hopefully you hit something, and then you turn around and drop your other set. Then you wait. And if you have to put your nose into the cap, fine. Just make sure that you have the low side of your reload coming up to where you can get those off. It's gonna be a frustrating fucking season for other DDs that actually get hit by these torps coming in early, which brings more value, and makes the Jutland and the Z46 or things with hydro even stronger. So, guys, pay attention, and watch out for them goddamn pedos coming into the game. Because it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough season for battleships because of all the torpedoes. It's gonna be a rough season for destroyers because of all the torpedoes. And I think that if you can dodge the torpedo sets early, you're gonna go a long way. You're gonna go a long way to win these games.
Yes, indeedy.
And
vigilant for you.
I like to take vigilance. I mean, it's a good thing. I hate hitting torpedoes, man. I hate it, man, with a passion. You guys saw it last night. I hit a torpedo. I was like, man, that was so stupid. Why did I hit these torpedoes? And I'm sitting there thinking about it. It's like, well, I just wasn't paying attention. That's the only reason. And the reason I hate hitting torpedoes is because they're avoidable. They're 100% avoidable. Yep. And if you hit them, it's on you. Now, sometimes there's a little bit of shit, like 2 and 3 kilometers, and they drop out and your boat doesn't have time to maneuver. That's fine. That's unavoidable torps. But for the most part, dude, if they're at 10 kilometers, they're avoidable. So take the vigilance out there, boys. This is a season of vigilance here. You guys have to put it on the boats a couple of times, man. And I tell you what, playing the Fletcher with vigilance is pretty good idea. Playing
I mean, you can't always rely on someone's hydro or whatever, you know, so
hydro goes down.
It definitely gives you an advantage, and you definitely have time to react, and you're like, crap. Instead of eating 5, you might hit 1.
Yep, there you go.
Might hit 1, otherwise, oh look, battleship size gap walls.
We playing German over there, or are we playing Benham?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. There's our ranked review. Is there any other? Let's do this. Take a boat that we haven't talked about before together, and let's do our ship spotlight here for you. Make a boat, and then tell us about that boat and why you think people should play it or people should pay attention to it.
Crap. Well, since we just talked about every freaking boat in the game,
pretty much.
This
doesn't have to be for ranked season. It could be for anything. Just something that you enjoy playing or something that you think people don't play enough of.
Alabama. We'll do that.
All right,
I don't think people play enough Alabama. Tier 8 American Battleship. It's from the South Dakota class, which is basically, so it's a Massachusetts without secondaries, but it has a great torpedo belt, pretty maneuverable. It's a more compact North Carolina. Guns are consistent. The AA is consistent. If you build secondary spec, I mean, they go out a little bit. I think it's like 8 or something like that. Not to shake a stick at, but it does help a little bit, and it can take some punishment. It's got the American heel, typical. It's not good, it's not bad, but it's solid. And then the damage con is really good, lasts a long time, and it doesn't take a long time for it to come back up. So all around good, solid boat, fun to play. It's a premium, so you can pick that up in the premium shop. And like I said, it can take a beating. You can basically laugh at torps because the thing can turn on a dime.
Yes, it can.
And if they do hit, they're just, a lot of times they're just going to hit. You're not going to get a lot of floods in it, and so, and then especially with the damage rework that they do with the torpedoes, the flooding doesn't last that long, and so you kind of negate a lot of damage with that boat, and so all around, I think it's a really solid boat, and I've been seeing a few of them in the clan battles this season. So, um, and
Alabama's a good choice.
I don't knock a guy for using it. I mean, you know, like if he likes that boat, that's good because it is a solid boat.
It's a very good boat. Now everybody tends to what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody tends to just ignore the Alabama because the Massachusetts is
Yep.
out there and it's flashy and
Yep.
it's got all these fireworks that shoot off all the time. Alabama is a very good, solid choice. The Dispersion's not as good as the North Carolina, but it's better than the Massachusetts on all the same guns, the 16-inch guns. I can't say enough about it. I don't play it very often myself, and I probably should play a little bit more, but this is a very good boat. You guys understand how good the Roma turns or how good the Julius Caesar turns? Alabama turns pretty close to that. It's very, very good. Small rudder shift time and I wouldn't say small circle, but smallish for a battleship circle. So you can really dodge speeds and you can really make a hard left turn and slowly drift out of these shots and everything. Not to mention big, powerful guns. If you have to push on it, you can push on it. And don't be afraid to get your paint dirty, man. Don't be afraid to push up in there because it will just like the Montana can brawl with the GK if you get in range. It's pretty formidable. Pretty formidable.
Yes, indeedy.
This is also characterized by somewhat the similar shell velocity speed, so you will have to lead a little bit extra, just like you do in the North Carolina and the Massachusetts. But overall, man, once you can figure that out, it basically attributes to one or two more ticks on the line. You guys will love the Alabama. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. All right, boys. Well, we've gone through rank season. We've gone through French boats. We've gone through a couple other things here. If you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns, now's the time to put it in. We'll go into the Q&A session here right after this next little subject.
What's your boat?
My boat? Oh, that's not about me.
Oh, it's about me. Oh,
it's
all about me.
it's all about you, Fitz. It's all about you, bro.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you want me to, I could come up with something really quick.
No, why not? Let's do it for the shits and giggles.
All right, for the shiggles here. Let's say a boat that I really enjoy playing that I don't see a whole lot of anymore, the Cossack. I don't see a whole lot of Cossacks out there, man. I want to see more and more Cossacks being played by people. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't heard too many touting on it in the Tier 8 clan battle rank season, or the clan battle season. But I think a good Cossack player will can absolutely dominate a cap. Now, when you're going up against things like the Lightning, you can really penetrate things with the Cossack and do a lot of damage. It's got good AP, it's got great HE, it's got a good reload, it's got a good detectability, 5.5 kilometers. Only downside, you only get 4 torpedoes. Still got that same hydro, still got that heel. I'm sorry, not the heel, but still got some good smokes. I want to see people play this boat more, the Cossack. Get out there and play with your sacks.
No, you can't even compare it to Lightning. Cossack is. Now I see you play it. You see me play it. I adore that boat. It's so fun. The detection is just stupid on it. It's got a speed boost, which is super useful. The hydro is great, and it's got 1 rack of torts. But I feel like it is a very well balanced utility destroyer. I'm not scared of knife fighting that thing either. No. And so it's such a solid boat. It's not slow. It's speed boost. You can get up and get out. The acceleration is, it's British acceleration, so it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's a good boat. Just pray to God you don't see a CV. But otherwise, I think just the AA is its only weakness. Otherwise, it's super strong. Everyone. If you guys play DD and you don't have it, pick up that ship. It is that good. Seriously.
You won't be disappointed in it at all if you guys are somewhat aggressive. If you like playing a knife fighting destroyer like the Gearing, I put this on par with the Gearing, honestly, and I think the world of the Gearing.
Mm.
Now this boat does have one issue, and that's the gun turning radius. Where the Lightning has the 360 gun traverse, this one does not.
Right.
But you get the extra gun.
Yep.
In the back, so you do have to kind of play that, but your damage is fantastic. You can take IFHE if you want to. Now, a lot of people aren't going to recommend it, but I have used it when it first came out. 4,000 or 5,000 damage volleys on people. Without it, it's 2,000 or 3,000 damage. Still pretty solid, and you can still pin at pretty much any angle with that HE, and then your AP still becomes very good on the side. So swap out back and forth, and you're gonna love that boat. I really like it. I really like playing with my cocksack.
I do too.
Yeah. But yeah, 5.5 kilometer detection. You can out detect anybody at that except for Kagaros and all those clones at tier 8, 5.4 versus 5.5. But you can definitely out damage them.
Yep.
So
definitely.
highly recommend that. All right, guys, we don't have too many questions here. Let's go ahead and go into the Q&A session here, and then after this, we'll go ahead and get some games in. If you're down for some games tonight, man.
Hell yeah.
All right, hell yeah. All right, boys. Hemerald says, Sir Venom IK, the new player/boat protection system for wargaming, they learned it from World of Tanks. Now, I have never played World of Tanks. I don't know anything about new player protection abilities. So, I wouldn't put it past them to put in some kind of what that has been deemed from the chat, potato armor out there that gives them a little bit of advantage for being not as a skilled player.
Right. Give them the shiny, and make themselves feel good. And then all of a sudden, they get past it and then they go back to it and they're like, wait a second, what am I missing here? What happened? And so, and then the next paragraph down, with the iOS thing, Apple, whatever, actually tied in really well with that. It kind of made sense. Make the good thing worse until you update to a better thing. I was like, I see what you're doing here.
That's what he's referring to as Efrosheen has said. iOS upgrade strategy: make the good thing progressively worse to sell the next good thing, and then the cycle repeats. I tend to agree with that. As when the Missouri came out, it was spot on every time you pulled the trigger. Nowadays, it's so inconsistent that it's almost not even worth taking anymore. As good as it is, and as utility as it has with its radar. Totally understand that, and I totally see that. Now, is there any factual base behind it? No, still tinfoil hat theory, and we're still just speculating. And how do you ask that question? How do you approach that question without just like, hey guys, this is what I'm seeing. Am I wrong in this? But anyway, that's for you guys to determine. I'm interested in what you guys have to say about that as well. All right. Excuse me. Harold says, Sir Venom IK, hey, because they introduced the Citadel overpins is what they introduced, and they messed it up the game in its current state. Now, they have gone on record in the past and have said that it's impossible for you to overpin a Citadel. It's either overpin or not. And I say yes, because I've hit this boat 17 times, and I've 17 times in a row in the same spot, and I've gotten 4 Citadels and the rest were overpins in the same exact hole. So you can't sit there and tell me that there's no such thing as Citadel overpins when we can legit show you overpin Citadels.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I don't even think I know where the Citadel is anymore, when it comes to that. And like every ship that comes out, I look at its armor layout. I'm like, okay, I need to get it here. And what I think would be a Citadel isn't a lot now, and what I think isn't a Citadel is. And so I guess I just need to look at what I'm doing again, and then try to go from there.
Kind of readjust. I know. I know some of the boats out there, the Japanese. If you hit them in the middle back, you're probably going to get your Citadel. If you hit the Americans in the middle back, you're not getting Citadels. So you have to really hit them in the middle, to get these Citadels, and not only in the middle, but low in the middle. Same thing with the Kremlin or the Kreml. If you hit that middle back, you're going to get the citadels. But if you hit it in the front gun or in the middle front, you're not getting citadels. You're probably getting over pins, or you're probably getting just regular pins. And I find that very interesting at how it shows the citadel across the waterline all the way into the front set of guns, but I can only hit it through the back, and I don't understand why that's a thing. Now, for the same reason that you can cheek a Yamato, it's just a weird insert. I think a lot of these. Why am I getting an overpin? Why do I hit two shells into the same hole and get two different results? One of a citadel and one of an overpin. Well, we don't know what's happening when that shell actually gets into that boat. So if it gets in and then bounces off something and goes up, so yeah, okay, I could see that being a citadel. But how do we know? Because there's no, and I think a lot of these other things, I've said it for years now, that if we had somewhere, okay, this shell hit into this boat here and went into this section and exploded. Some kind of 3D bullshit thing that pops up. Okay, you hit this guy right here. This is where the shell exploded, or it shows it going through in the same area. I think that would solve a lot of people's issues with pins for no damage. It will solve a lot of people's issues with overpinning citadels, and it'll solve a lot of exactly a War Thunder kill feed basically.
Yep, I was about to bring that up. Yep.
So that's so I think that would solve a lot of issues just instantaneously. It would solve probably 90% of the issues of people complaining, bitching, and moaning about why am I getting these overpins? Why is this happening? Well, you're hitting here, that's why, and you're hitting there, that's why. Okay, so I think a lot of people would not have too many issues with that. So, all right, last thoughts on that.
No, I'd like to see that. The way that War Thunder does it, it's really simple. It's fast. It doesn't take away from what you're looking at on the screen. And so that would be cool. I would definitely enjoy seeing something like that.
Do you think it would solve any problem?
I think it would help solve my greed. It's like, that was the best shot of your F this guy there. It'd probably take a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. OG Mad Willie says, I feel like I have to take IFHE on mini boats just to do damage in my DDs at times, but on tort boats it's such a waste in my opinion. Well, some of these all right, so 100 millimeters, you definitely need them. Then we're talking Harry Gumbos, we're talking Kitakaze, Zakazukis, Harikaze. If you take the 100 millimeters, you definitely, absolutely take it. Then it becomes a little bit weird on the 120s. When the 120s, if you guys will see, are Lightnings and British DDs. And then you have the 112s of the Jutland and the Daring. So they're a little bit different. They fall in a weird category. 139s, definitely take it on that because you're probably a gunboat. You're a bigger boat and you're going to be shooting your guns a lot. We're talking kebabs, we're talking French DDs, we're talking oodaloys and trash cans and all these things with the 139s. They do a lot of damage. Then you have 130s, you have 127s. When we're talking about something like the 127, we're mostly talking about the Pan Asians and the Americans. And it's not really necessary to take IFHC on the 127s. You don't have to because you have enough reload on that to not have to worry about it. And you can still get 1,000 to 2,000 damage volleys just based on that alone. What do you think about IFHE on DDs?
No, I mean that you kind of explained it really well. You got to look at the size of the shell that's coming out. The bigger ones, IFHE is definitely going to help because you're going to get a lot better alpha damage. And you're kind of at that spot. It's like, okay, do I want to do more damage or do I want to set more fires? And with a DD with the larger shell size, I find 127 and up don't really. I don't know. It's just I think it's a preference, but with the lower ones, yeah, you're gonna be firing a lot regardless, and so um, I know with the Harikaze and the Kitakaze and the Harigumo, like it's so useful to have that.
Hmm.
Just the sheer amount of shells that are going through the air. Another good one I found is on my Flint or Atlanta.
Hmm.
That's pretty fun.
That's
You
talking
know,
cruisers, and that's whole
I know, but
changing.
those are
No,
127s.
I totally understand.
Um, so I just, I guess just find what works for you and how you like to use that, and then just kind of go from there. But definitely look into um, what the size of the shell is, because 100 millimeters, you're not going to do a lot of damage if you don't put IFHE on it.
Yeah, you
Period.
don't pin very much. Also,
Um,
think about this. I feel that when I take IFHE on destroyers, I end up not switching to AP when I should.
yep.
Because I'm like, okay, I should be getting this damage. I should be getting this damage when I could have swapped over to AP 8 shots ago and gotten a lot more damage. So I think it also mentally it hinders somebody to take IFHE on something like the 127 of the Fletcher, or the or I mean I won't take it on the German DDs because their HE sucks, but there's no reason to take it on some of these boats like the Daring, like the Jutland, because you're going to swap over. That is the playstyle, swap over. So think about what you're
Yep.
putting
And you have
IFHE
to.
on, and then try to swap it over. Obviously, you don't want to do it unless you're flat broadside against a cruiser or something like that with the 127s. But think about swapping over to your AP to get these little chunks of damage. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. A Harry Gumbo on the broadside of a fucking Montana can absolutely eat it up with its in the superstructure, just like little mosquito bites, just like the Minotaur does.
Yep.
So
Yep.
think about that. I think that solves. I think that solves a lot of the IFHE issues. Instead of forcing yourself to take IFHE, why don't you try without it and then swapping back and forth? So get used to doing that. And once you can do that, you're going to be a better DD player, I think, in the long run.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Hemerald, the Servenum IK, he says, never had a game where the RNG said no in competitive clan battles, King of the Sea, and so on. But in randoms, it just feels like it's obviously a different algorithm on RNG. Now, for somebody who plays clan battles, which I don't, I defer to you here. Do you see a difference between your RNG and clan battles and randoms?
Yeah, clan battles seems to be more like ranked for me, with the shells, and so, uh, when it's tier 10, I'll just for the utility, I take a Montana because I'm gonna knock a cruiser off the map. Um, yeah, I can still brawl with a battleship, any other battleship, whatever. But yeah, in randoms, and that's why I brought up I can't remember where I saw it, and I thought it was that one dude, and then Emerald said it might have been another guy, but he knew what I was talking about, and it had to do with the algorithm, and so yeah, no, just like I mean, we did hit on it. It's like for 4 minutes in the beginning, you play like a god, and then all of a sudden you hit nothing, or you go through half the match and you do nothing, and all of a sudden you're like, well, how did I get these 4 kills in like 3 minutes? So it's strange to me, and then I can't remember. I had to reset my feed on this, and so I can't scroll up to look at what he said, but it had to do. Crap. Yeah, I wish I could see it because I'd be able to read off that and then react to it too, but I'm sure you can. So maybe you can go on that.
Basically, they said we can't balance the game through matchmaking, so when it fails, we use RNG spiking to do it. That was
That's
a
it right
guy
there.
with it wasn't
Yep,
sub,
that was it.
it was a guy with somebody short hair, whoever that was. So RNG spikes it because they can't do it through matchmaking. Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand the reason why everybody has to be at 50%. There have to be a place where people can shine, and that's win percent. People have already gone off the rails and gone to third parties. My PR rating, my PR rating. I'm like, I don't care. I just want to win. And
Mm-hmm.
which PR rating is 100% boostable. And all you have to do is, I don't care if you lose the game, because I don't think does PR take in for wins, or does PR take in damage?
I don't know, and I don't care.
I'm not sure how it's
I would.
calculated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I mean, there's something to that aspect, and I'll tell you what, I will put it on you guys in the chat. Here's another challenge for you. Go out there, if you guys are playing clan battles, go play clan battles, and then go play rank battles, and or go play randoms, and see if your RNG is different or if it's the same. I'd like to hear some of you guys' opinions. As I don't play clan battles, but I do play rank season, but I'm more of a DD, so RNG doesn't really affect me too much as a destroyer. With that being said, destroyers still control the game more than anything in rank battles.
Yeah, no, they're essentially the eyes and ears, unless you have a CV.
Yeah.
And even with the CV's only spotting where his planes are at. The DDs are spotting a lot more than what a CV can do. So,
yeah.
And a plane can't take a cap, but a DD
can. Let's see. PR's overall game performance. Everything you can think of. Base experience, damage percent, potential damage, plane kills, caps, defends, etc. But nowhere in that does it say win rate. So you can basically lose a lot of games and still have a really high PR rating. So I don't know how good of a stat that is to separate people. All right, OG Mad Willie says RNG is rough. I can't say how many times I've shot somebody for 9K, then similar barrage gets ricochets or overpins. Yeah, me too.
Agreed.
Me too. We only had one person type in their picks, and it was for cruisers for this rank season. And OG Mad Willie also says Seattle and Alaska, both really good boats. We talked about those a little bit. And then the last comment here was from Solus Bill, and it says, "Hey Venom and Fitz, you both have played a while. Do you enjoy it now more than before? And when was the high point of warships for each of you?"
That's a good question.
Yep. I still enjoy the game. I still think I feel extremely frustrated with the game, because I feel that I've played enough to where I'm better than what the results are showing. And when I'm like last night in those games in the Missouri, I know I'm better than those results that I was getting. So I feel a little bit jaded on that. As for the high point, what do you think? Do you still enjoy the game?
Oh, if I didn't enjoy the game, I wouldn't play it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, the community, playing with you, the other people in the clan. I mean, that's great and all. But if I didn't enjoy the game, it'd be like, you know what, horse, I love riding you and it's really fun, but you keep kicking me in the balls, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. I'm not about that. And so if I didn't enjoy the game, I wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
I'd probably hang out in the stream. It's like we'll use this as an example. I still love watching League of Legends. I don't play it though at all. I haven't played it in almost 2 years now, but watching the people, like, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I used to do something like that on that ship, and blah 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 blah. So like, I'll watch it. Like if I didn't enjoy the game, I'd probably still watch you, listen to the music because you have a great music selection.
The best playlist of all the World of Warship streamers.
And I will agree with that. There's others that are good and kind of come close, but you have like this all around and some interesting selection, but it'll go from one band to another band, and then they're the complete opposite of the spectrum, and so I would do that. But the high point of World of Warships for me was closed beta testing, and And that, it wasn't. I don't know what alpha was like, and I'm pissed that they wouldn't let me in it. But uh, I, you'd see the tier one with the tier tens, or tier nines or whatever. And it was so funny to watch. And it's like, oh, what are you doing that for? And it's like, yeah, to piss my team off. But um, I played this game called Battle Stations Midway,
Hmm.
and I loved it. And it was on console, and it played really well on console too. I actually think it played better than WoW's Legends. And so, but the aiming was like the exact same on this game that we enjoy here. And so I was able to pick it up really quickly, and I was like, oh, my shot went right where I thought it would go. Oh, okay. And so, and then, and it was Japan and America, and me being a history buff, and I thought the games were modeled really well too. And so, yeah, I was like a little schoolboy, and then I have this nice gaming computer that I can play on, and so things looked really well. And then just it's been more and more content, and the content that's come out, um, and then there's some changes that, as you guys have listened to, we gripe on a little bit, but it hasn't stopped me from playing the game. But the content, they keep coming out, and they've been hammering at home too. And they're like, we have so much content that you guys can't even think of, and so the game's going to keep going on for a while, and I enjoy that. So, but like I said, the high point for me was the closed beta testing, especially when I knew I'd be getting essentially a ship that a lot of people won't get, which was the Arkansas beta,
I
which
hate you.
is really fun. It's so fun,
You know, I
especially when it's secondary spec. It's like,
high point for me was grinding in through tier 4, 5, and 6. I think my initial grind through tier 4, 5, and 6 is where I started to actually learn the game and actually starting to see results of listening to these beautiful people that were in the chat helping me. Grinding through tier 4, 5, and 6 was so much fun in battleships and cruisers and destroyers. And then it kind of and then all that love and hope that you feel at those tiers when you get to tier 8, it's just gone now. I mean, tier 8, 9, and 10 are so droll to play because pretty much, I wouldn't say every game is the same, but every game tends to break down the same way. Guys are going to come over here. They shoot their guns. Then they turn around and they fucking run the rest of the game because nobody has any balls to want to push in or nobody has, the game is at the high tiers. I think that it's just not a very sound game right now. And it's not Wargaming's fault. It's the player base's fault. I think that, you know, it's a pretty interesting dynamic from 3 years ago when I was playing tier 6 to where I go now, and you play you play 8, 9, and 10 a lot now. For the last 2 weeks, trying to get all these damn tokens, you can really see the disparity between the playstyles at 6 and 10. It's very passive. It's just a very passive game at the high tiers. It's very frustrating for somebody like me who enjoys the lower tiers better because they're actually willing to go do things because they probably don't know what's going on in the game, so maybe they're going to push in anyway, or B, it's a lot more fun. People are just down there to have fun, whereas tier 10 becomes, I don't know about you, man, but tier 8, 9, and 10 just becomes a more serious game to me.
it's more serious just because of the sheer damage output from like literally every ship, uh, especially 9 and 10. Um, but I enjoy playing 8, 9, and 10 more than the lower tiers because um, if someone makes a mistake, it's the number. Um,
The big
like
smacks.
the 80K salvo,
Yeah.
and I don't see it as much, but I get them
Hmm.
and I love them, and you don't do that at the lower tier. And then also at the lower tier, one good player can severely affect the game. They just make the right decisions. It's a bit easier to get a Kraken down there, especially when it's not a lot of people are experienced, and I'm not saying they're not talented, they're just not experienced. And so um, you can bring that down, and you're like, okay, I think these people are going to go here. You set yourself up, and then you can take out, instead of one, you can take out two, maybe three, keep on going. And then all of a sudden you have half the map that you just did to yourself, and then you get to move in and finish off more people.
Hmm.
Or work for the objectives or whatever, help your team out, whatever it's going to do. And seal clubbing,
Yeah.
and so I mean that's fun, don't get me wrong, but when you are that one player and then someone else has one player and then they wipe out that one side, and then that one side comes over to your side and wipes out you, and it's like, it's really frustrating. It's like, my team lost because my team is bad, and there's really nothing I could do about it. And sure, I did a hell of a lot of damage and I took out some ships with me, but it didn't matter when it's 1v5 and or 1v7, which is even better, and there's really nothing you can do about it, it just can't. So
Yeah. I find a lot of in this game. I find a lot of I've said frustration a lot, but there's another word for it, apathy. I think I find a lot more apathy for the higher tiers, because the majority of the time the games are over in 5 minutes. And
yeah, pretty much,
and
just from
I would
the
say
pre-positioning part. No, I
would
know,
say
I know
six out
exactly
of
what
I
you're
would
getting
say
at.
6 out of 10 games are over in 5 minutes. And yes, it's just going through the motions for the rest of them. But there's a lot of apathy where well, guys, all right, that's it, I'm done. I mean, this game's over. And I mean, you saw it. We saw it. B6 does it. I do it. In fact, let's YOLO. Let's get out of here. Let's go play another one, because we're not going to win this game. And then we go on off on a YOLO, and we end up bringing the game back, and we win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a weird dynamic. It's so weird, these games. Okay, guys, we're going to go out. We're going to go out. Blaze of glory here, and boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, we've killed 4 people. We're right back in the game. And then you're like, yeah, we have a chance here, and it's just such a letdown when the rest of the team just folds.
Yep.
So I think that's having less control of the game. I think is my biggest thing. And I'm not advocating for seal clubbing at all, but it is good to, if you get on a losing streak, you're playing like shit, to just drop down to a couple of tiers. Drop down to 7, drop down to 6, and play something similar. If you're playing the Montana, drop down to 6 and play the the Arizona, and really hone in the shot, because the shots are relatively the same between the two boats. Not exactly, but they're relatively the same, and you can kind of get on. You can kind of see where I'm going. So it is nice to take a break and relax and go down there and just not care about the results.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, no, I agree, absolutely. And they are the same, your shell velocity. Let's just say that Arizona, New Mexico, shell velocity is the same, or it's a lot lower, but what you're shooting at is a lot slower. So you can hone in your shot. It's good practice, and I do it. I do it, and I get pissed off, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking out my kamikaze. I'm gonna kill people and get that flag, says I love it, And so, and then when I'm really pissed, but I still want to challenge, I take my Arkansas Beta out, which has 0 AA, and I know I'm gonna fight against 2
or
Oshos
3 or 3 CVs at times.
But it doesn't matter, because unless there's a tier 5 DD in there, pretty much all the other DDs, because the way my secondary set up, they have to get inside their torp range, and my my secondaries are gonna light them up, and it's so funny watching them. They're like, "What the hell?" And then they turn, and I was like, "Okay, well your torpedoes are coming off. I'm gonna shoot you, and I'm gonna turn and I'm going to keep hitting you with my secondaries." Oh,
right.
Okay, you're dead. So
yeah. I find it interesting. So many people give the lower tier battleships just a hard time. I mean, I understand the Kawachi's not the best, the Miyogi's not the best, but some of the better ones, like as slow as the South Carolina is, that thing is dirty. The Wyoming is nasty when you get broadside shots. I don't tell you how many times
Yep.
I've dev struck people in these stupid boats, even in the fabled Miyogi. I have I know it's not really bragging because it's tier 4, but shit, I've got 90,000, 100,000 damage in a Miyogi.
Oh yeah.
And it was a lucky game. It was a lucky game. So, either way,
It's fast though too. I mean, like
yeah,
it's fast, and
these
so
games are pretty quick.
you can no the Miyogi's fast.
Yeah, well, I think the Miyogi and a lot of the Japanese boats for newer players, they're better because they are faster. But it's also worse for
another one, all them.
yeah, it's worse for those new players. Just like the Georgia is worse for the newer players because they take that speed and they outdo their fucking the rest of their team. They speed so fucking far ahead that then they're like, oh shit, there's nobody here and there's 7
Yeah,
people.
crap,
It's time
I'm
to go.
alone.
I'm out. See you later. And so a lot of people just bail out on that. But either way, man, that is it. If you guys have any more questions, comments, or concerns, you guys can hit me up at sir_venom_IK, or you guys can hang out in the chat. Fitz, I want to thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I know it was kind of short notice. It'd be about a week or so.
Anytime, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Kick Staple out next time.
Kick Staple out.
Fucking shitter. I hate
I'm sorry, I can't hear what he's saying, man.
exactly.
yeah.
Voiceless wonder.
I love each and every one of you guys. I know Fitz, if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about real quick, now's the time. You got anything happening you want to promote or anything?
No, just for the upcoming ranked season. You know, Venom and I, we both say we're average or whatever. We're good, okay, but we're not like great. We're not super purple unicom, whatever. If you're frustrated with rank, and you'll see Venom get frustrated, you might hear me get frustrated because I don't stream, but just persevere. Like get that rank 1. It's actually worth it. You get great rewards for it. You get to steal
Flag.
People are like, how'd you get the board going or whatever, the stalling, and it's stalling early. Now everyone has them, seems to be, but there's going to be some pretty good ships that are coming up for steal, and so just power through it, and it's like it's not that challenging. You just have to power through it, just try to find a little bit of patience. Don't sit there and play 4 hours, without taking a break. If you do good, take a break. If you do bad, take a break. Get up, get something to eat, and make sure that life goes on too and stuff like that. But I know so many good players that refuse to get to rank out, and like get rank 1, you start at rank 10 next season. Super helpful, and like it was, oh, I stopped at rank 10. I was like,
Rank
well,
13.
now you have to go back and you have to play with the people that aren't good. I hate saying it, they're just not good at rank 18 and stay there. And then you have to carry them. So, like I said, just persevere. Don't get mad. It's a game. You pick a boat that you're comfortable in, but here's one thing, one that if you can carry in, just pick a good boat. Don't do the gimmicky thing, and find a good spot. And you're going to be playing with a lot of the same people. Take notes mentally what they're going to do. Okay, this guy sucks, he's going to go here, but he might draw out the team. Just try to think ahead and be ahead of the other people, because even the super unicorn players, you play a couple games with them, where they're going to go, and it's kind of like a chess game. It's like, I know you're going to go there. You're going to be here about this time. I'm going to knock the crap out of you too, and
it's a chess game.
That's it. They're not that much better than anyone else. Now they are good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting them down or anything like that, but they're not superheroes or anything like that. They're still human, and they're still bound by the rules and the firepower and the punishment that this game gives, and takes too. But
I think that,
like I said, power through.
I think that that's something to be said, guys. It is a chess game, and what happens in chess, the players generally play the first 3 moves the same every time. Generally.
Yep.
I learned that
Yeah,
from
they're kind of bound by that, and that's
yeah.
just what they do. There's different variations of it, but it's like, okay, you're gonna go here. You know, something's gonna move, and it's usually a pawn. Um, DDs are probably gonna be in the front. There's gonna be a radar cruiser behind them. There's gonna be a battleship behind that guy, and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think if you guys are going to go out there and play DDs, play a couple of games dropping torps in a certain area, like Sea of Fortune. When you're on the bottom side of Sea of Fortune and you go into Charlie, and I always drop my torpedoes in the same fucking spot because nine times, or not 9 times out of 10, but 6 times out of 10, there's a motherfucker right there, and I end up hitting him once or twice. I hit him once, and then I can push in with my hydro, and I can kill him with my 46. I mean, there's a lot of things that you see, and you see the same pattern over and over and over again. But I think the biggest thing that Fitz touched on here is it is not a test of skill. Rank season
Absolutely.
is not a test of skill. It is a test of patience. Are you able to sit there and weed through and get through all the frustrating teams to where you can find 6 or 7 games in a row where you can win? And after you lose 1 star, 2 stars, get the fuck out. Stop for the day. And that way you're always making progress. All right, so that's it. And I guess one more thing we have to say. Episode 31's in the books, man. That's it, boys. Podcast is over. Fitz, tell them goodbye.
Goodbye.
And
yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I love each and every one of you, even you, Staforple. And thanks for being here and supporting the game and listening to my my rambling. And let's listen to some music now and watch some boats.
Hell yeah, guys! Last minute time things here. 13th next week, Virtual Senpai will join us. Those are always good, and they're always kind of long because we're long-winded motherfuckers. 13th is Virtual Senpai. On August the 16th, we're doing a 24-hour stream. We'll give away a Sirocco and a Bayard and a whole bunch of camo codes and a whole bunch of box codes. So be here for that. Then we have C. Atrox joining us on the 20th of August for the podcast, and then we have Stats Bloke straight over from England. On the 27th of August. So those will all be good podcasts. That's it, man. That's all I got for you. As Rick and Morty said, hey, peace among worlds, boys. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace out.